listen to the tales. Raise your mark to the legends of the frost. Through our songs they will never be lost. Tales that will never be lost. Kept in the legends of the frost. Tales that will never be lost. Kept in the legends of the frost. Tales that will never be lost, kept in the legends of the frost. Tales that will never be lost, kept in the legends of the frost. Once and always a part of history, long remembered warriors be. Distant thunder echoes of the past, through our voices forever to last. So raise your mark to the legends of the frost. Through our songs they will never be lost. Raise your mark to the legends of the frost. Through our songs they will never be lost.
Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. All right, so we've got, there actually was an ARC, and my local process worked pretty well for that. So that generation is done. I do want to work on time. I want to work on a lot of things. But I noticed this. And I could probably want to get ahead of, or rather, I want to continue working on this while my data set matches what we had here. So I can continue to work on the world gen. And I hope I'm not already behind on it. There's also the change in bear frequency. So I'm going to have to work out multi-generational. I have such a long list of stuff. Yep, and there's object generation. Biome graphics. Yeah, this is mostly the rendering series. Alright, you're almost like down here somewhere. I have such a long list, I've lost track of what's going on. But anyway, somewhere in the code, I should have some layers. Let's see, so this was some kind of sprite layer? Well, it wasn't necessarily sprites yet. Oh, actually, yeah, I had a data file for all the map gen stuff. Grid objects. Get base map is in object layer. Okay, it has to exist at least once. That must turn it into a regex thing. There. Okay, so I don't have that automatic on right now. What are you waiting for? Object layer is not defined. Object overlay? I guess that one was kind of an overlay. Base.object. Oh, right. Oh, because I moved it into overlays. I copied something that was not an overlay. And my time code is different now. Oh, I might be doing some automatic time sets based on some other stuff. Biome is undefined. Well, that might be true because I had the other object loading stuff somewhere. Biome is undefined. Maybe I can't turn it automatically because it has data dependencies. So first of all, why is my time messed up? Oh, I might be auto-setting time. Although, I really shouldn't be. Why is it coming back here, though, of all things? Oh, maybe it's going to the closest arc time. Well, no, it's not resetting this. even though that's its time. All right, so something's overriding my time set. Probably when I get the art. Well, that means that all time-based sets aren't behaving. Let's just confirm. I set myself to 7:16, and I go to 7:31. It's probably minimum arc time. And I think I gotta go there immediately. But that is definitely drawn from Elm. Oh, where do we get route from? Well, there's a knit. Location, location. Change route to. We get our time route. Okay, show time notice. Map time equals. I think we've got the value here. Maybe dot map millis to POSIX. That's a view operation. Leaflet time load. Actually, all of the events might be instructive. Oh, and where'd our compiler go? Make sure we're not hitting any errors. Yeah, blah, 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 here. Okay, that is a load when it was at this time. Okay, 2745. And we start playing. That 2745. Current time notice. Well, that's. Oh, time dot now. I put that in for a default. Showtime notice. So I don't need to do that if we got it from the URL. Well, I still want to show it. And I still need a current time. Change route 2. Well, change route 2 already had a thing that did a show time notice if it was set. Map time is a maybe, which means we know if it's set or not at load. So if it's set, it will do its own time notice. Show time notice will record the current time. Change route 2 doesn't want to do that normally in the not case. Model dot map time just anything is a command dot none. Nope. We did compile. Also, I don't think I wanted to play by default. Okay, so we don't have current time notice anymore. We do get a current time. Which is if we have notice, we need to do animation updates. Is that the other thing that comes in on? So the subscription actually happens before init. Right. So we get the model, do subscriptions, must trigger right away, and then it queues up all these commands? Well, current time shouldn't really do anything by itself. I forgot to notice, this may have already updated itself. Okay, URL 258. Show time notice 258, 1258. But I didn't notice if that was what I wanted. All right, 1906. And that's something even different? Current time, current time, current time. URLT, show 1906, arc list. Current URL, 1906, 1906, server list. And we get a whole bunch of current times. Right, that's just for the animation updating. Okay. There's URL time. 1906, which this is not 1906. How are we picking layers? I think that mostly happens on the JavaScript side. That would have anything that we sent from you. App.ports.leaflet event. Move end, overlay add, overlay remove. Split points, enum toggle. Well, these will all come in on the other messages. So actually, the URL is still fine, I think. Or it was fine earlier. One, 2, 5, 8. I mean, unless that's actually just the wrong number. Oh, well, okay, that was a few too many, few zeros. That was a few too many zeros. No, it needs 4, I think. And it almost feels random what we're getting. Wait. We're not updating URL. Is that because the browser's like, oh, you were manually editing that? We can't let the program update it. That seems to be the case. Oh, actually, yeah, Big Server 2 only goes back this far. All right, well, that's unambiguously old. 15644. What? Well, this could be one of the early, very early arcs where we still had the old generation. What's your time code? 729. Yeah, so something with the time codes is completely busted. Like, horribly, horribly broken. All right, so time. Are we getting any time loads here? Yes. And what was that? Okay. Okay, so that's what you are getting. We know is that is the URL time. That is July 29th. I thought. Okay. November, is that what it said? 129. Oh, we've got some translation problems here. $24.65. Oh no, it's only 3 zeros. But that's still August. What? $2.18. All right, no, I touched the URL. It's not gonna update it again. $3.23. Right? Oh? Oh? Why are we time loading that? I thought maybe I haven't reloaded this where I have all the commands. That's just message. Where are all my commands? What's hidden? Why is it hidden? Okay. Uncaught exception. Okay, we actually ran the code that I updated. There's all the Elm messages. We're never receiving commands? Okay. Now you're actually executing that. Okay, set view, that's arc list. Monument list. So arc list could be doing something. Because that set maps, well, no. Arc list includes a time. 567997130 versus 31, which is interesting. So what time does arc list give us? Model.map time. All right, so me. So I can't use the Elm reactor proper with this because I have custom HTML. Oh no, wait, it's not that. It's the debug mode. That we can do. Oh, wait. It's very finicky about trying to edit a file that is currently executing. Really, I have no... Okay. Okay. It just took a while. And then we get a lot of messages there. Right, so was I determining that... Well, actually I was trying to... Oh yeah, that's 154. I'm doing something that's resetting my time. So I'm not even getting the timestamp I want. I wish I could, like, clear this. And then we get all the animation again. I should probably turn off the animated thing. Assuming that's not what messing me up. Because that's just kind of spammy. So if I go back here, okay, we cannot expand the sidebar at all. We start off at current zone. And this is where I have to keep converting the times over. Let's see, can I... How often do I set map time? Let's see, select server. That's a view event, so it shouldn't be happening normally. Move end. Wait, that's using map time. Leaflet time load. That's using it. Oh, but it's also... If it was empty, it sets it, but it shouldn't be empty. Set time. Yeah, there'd be a couple of places I'd have to update to get a date conversion in there. I guess what I really want to know is when this goes... now we have data. Six, 7. Go to 548. It's a whole lot of time loads there. Okay. Current URL updated with that. And then we get a time load for some time in the current. This doesn't show me commands. UI course start time. Show the time notice. We updated the URL. And we get a whole lot of time loads. Why do we get a whole lot of time loads? And why are they all at the wrong time? And click to resume, doesn't work. Yeah, wrong thing. Okay, current URL, current URL. Okay, so time load is triggering URL updates that are all very, very recent. Okay, course time, show time notice, current URL, old. Command set current time to new? Leaflet at current time t, time route, and set time. So, which one of you is being naughty? Well, we've already kind of got a hook into this. So that has to be set time? Actually, I might have to switch over to redoing time model, because this is kind of exactly the stuff I was concerned about. All right, so we got course time, 488, current URL, URLT, current time. What the heck? Is it possible we sent that command and it took a while to get executed? Because we have two places that could possibly send that. So those feel like different timestamps. 567. Yeah, I think it might be some lag. Well, where is course start time? Course start time. That keeps hitting, that updates my URL. My time notice. And then in a somewhat deferred manner, we get around to sending commands to Leaflet, which have very old timestamps in them. So we get time loads back from there that update our URL. And for some reason, we never get the time loads for the older time. Maybe the way that system interprets that is it throws out a second request to set time if there's one already pending? Oh, and well, there's a special thing for first up. I might have to see how that's interpreted. Time dimension set current time, which is just message.time. But time dimension is a external library that is free to interpret or ignore that or whatever. Well, this might be an issue regardless of what I do with my local handling. Okay, so here's the other funny thing. We're actually showing the map for here, but our time code is not for here. So the time load events it's time dimension, so that should only be, well, there's a couple responders, but well, okay, so this is selection of base layers, not selection of any other sublayers. This is just straight up time dimension time load. So it told me that it uploaded a couple of the earlier timestamps and never loaded the later ones we received. See, is it like set current time? Seek nearest time index. Well, that'll be fine. There's lots of those. Oh, unless my time range... Right, you can only seek within your current range. Yeah. So arc range by time. We only set that if we are doing set data layers, which has a range, and arc range, which has a range. So I'm telling time dimension to update to a time that's outside of its range, and it's going, I don't know that time. Here, have this one. But there is nothing we can do in time dimension at this point in history. So if I'm just going to set time, I can only do that if my current time range supports it. Okay, arc list includes a time. Begin playback is only relevant to things that can play back. What if we do lives that are older? So this is the big issue. the map time picks the layer. So I'm going to have to get current time. That's options, methods. All right. Too many references to that. I think I may have to replace time dimension sometime. It just it works in a way that's not well suited to what I'm doing. It just feels like a big enough project. I've been putting it off. Not get current time. Get available times. If time is greater than or equal to range 0. Actually, I kind of like doing range 0 is if time is between then we can set the time. And that's why it's kind of random because of how these events come in. Okay, so that's not sufficient. Right, we triggered some time loads while it was in arc range, and they are happening at a delayed time frequency. Let's see, so they come back after the fact. All right, so I know my time modeling needs rework. But that asynchronous stuff might be an unsolvable problem without making my own time dimension. All right, so we need to do work on our time model. Let's see, how about model consistency? That's kind of what we're working on. So what we want to make it easy to think about is we want something kind of like an Elm model where there is a time and that's that. However, this is partly asynchrony in Elm sending commands and partly asynchronous in receiving events back from JavaScript. So there is no like singular model that we can have. So the reason we have time load events is because when you have this stuff, we can hit play, and stuff generated from the leaflet's advancing time dimension will update our current time. So there is definite utility in having that. Or if we do time here, that updates the current time in our model. There's utility in doing that. How do I define a concept of, well, I mean, I guess this is fundamentally asynchronous. You know, we could just as equally, I mean, I know there's similar problems with, they have, a a rover on the moon or Mars or wherever, and it takes real time for messages to go back and forth. So when you find out about a situation that is already in the past, and it will be farther in the past, and well, it'll be farther in the past for them when they get a response, and it will be even farther from when you sent it. So that's kind of what we got going on here. There is distance between the Elm model and the leaflet model. Even if both of them could have some concept of, okay, here's my model of the world. They're both getting asynchronous events from each other, which could seem to be arbitrarily delayable. So we scroll through some arcs, we trigger some time load events. We finish scrolling through all of history, And then the time load events from that happening comes back. And tells us, wait, we're way back here that you scrolled past a while ago. I might have to rewrite my own where I can properly separate. Well, actually, I might be able to do this. 'Cause like this thing is, this little overlay is an elm. I wouldn't necessarily be able to position it against other leaflet controls. But I could do all of this in Elm where I had a consistent view of that part of things. Events. Time loading. Available times changed. Range limits changed. Yeah, I don't think there's anything better. If I did rewrite it, I would want to separate. Well, first of all, I could handle things in Elm and then just tell the map about time changes, and then I would have a singular view of the progress of time. I think I might have been thinking about doing a leaflet control of this at one point. But I really need some consistency here. So if I scroll through, I want that to just be. Along the way, so Elm generates time events. That sends current time to JS. Time dimension, well, from what we can tell, command, 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 command. Current time events to JS are arbitrarily delayed. Time dimension will send time load for only current times that fell in a time range, and time load events are arbitrarily delayed because it's all asynchronous. And then that sets the Elm time model back to sometime in the future without updating any of this stuff. So I've been treating time load events as like animation playback things. But they also trigger anytime I set current time, and if I knew when I finished dragging, I would only send one event. If I stopped in an off time, that would be great. But I don't think that really strikes the root of the problem. I kind of not need it to not send time load in response to things I told it to do versus things it generated itself. Or rather from user interaction. So I could get a more consistent time model by moving the time slider all the way into Elm. Well, my long-term goal is to completely rethink time in such a way that it would be more like maybe like a timeline that would kind of take over a section of the bottom similar to that sidebar. In which case, we wouldn't have the overlaying it on the map problem. What I'd really like to do with that is not is going to require more infrastructure. I'd like to have like some sort of I've seen. I don't even know where to go find it. I've seen timeline controls where you can select a range and that gives you a zoomed view somewhere else, and then that could maybe work kind of like my coarse and fine selection. That's a big project in and of itself. And it would mean replacing all of the time dimension stuff, but really that's just, okay, here's a current time. Go update the layers. I'm not fully utilizing time dimension. I would have to create my own player and pause and... It's all kind of a pain in the butt. But right now, I'm not seeing a better way to sort of make sense of the asynchrony we have going on here. It's like I thought maybe I could just do the time modeling with less events going back and forth about it. But without being able to distinguish playback events or user interactions from automatic loading events that are going to happen in response to setting current time, I'm not sure that I can ever make this make sense. Because I have no way right now to distinguish those sort of time set response events from things that I do want to sort of respond to. There might still be some cleanup I could do in advance of that. But some of it might be driven by the way we have to respond to other things. All right, so I think that this was correct. If we have a current time, we don't want to grab, or if we have a map time from the URL, we don't want to set the map to the current time. That was kind of a waste. Well, I need a time notice, but the URL already triggered a notice for that. Now, that's a little bit confusing here. But in general, when that does cause a change, we always want to perform that notice. And I can't like queue up showtime notice for current time before doing this because we have to wait till we get the current time back to do that. So that's kind of an asynchronous thing. So I don't see a way out of this conditional. If the UI selected a server, it's a UI event, so I'm not as concerned about it. It's not going to happen too much. A move end should generally be a user interaction. Time load is our problem. We pretty much just record it and replace the URL, which is what messes up our ability to get a URL properly in the past. I mean, I could work around it by like saying, okay, I'm gonna send these events to Leaflet. So if I get those times back within some number of seconds, just ignore them. But that's kind of a messy workaround. Arc list, depending if we have a time. Does different things. It never... If there was no map time, then we update it. If it's equal, and look at set time because that's a thing that we do in places. To switch off of it. It's using it. Okay, so that's used for UI operation, UI operation, UI operation. Select arc, UI operation. Okay, so set time is used for all the UI operation type things. Actually, is that different or the same as... And it's probably different for a reason. Map time not equal to time. Time equals, I had the bug log in here. Equals just time. Command.batch, current time. Right, this one does the updates the URL. The other one is responding to the URL. And set time. I couldn't just append that because there is a no op case. Well, two-part duplication isn't terrible. Okay, so set time is always happens from UI operations. Yeah, time load is just really the thorn. Because I don't know if that is animation, user interaction, or response to my message. So that's the time dimension. Is it player? Animation is started unpaused, resuming after a waiting state. Stopped paused. Waiting for some layers to be loaded. Reached the end of the timeline. So we could get the animated events by watching player. Nope. Control.time dimension. Wait, this is not the player? Okay. Okay, so nothing distinguishes a player or a user like slider drag from one of those init events. We could do automatic playback, but not user interaction by state tracking. All right, so if we start out with a simple version of this without any real feedback, I mean, what we've got right now is already a slider that doesn't have any way to like really fine tune it. So if I just started out with a Elm UI slider, I could make it the width of this like entire thing. So you get a little bit more resolution there, although I'd still have to have some buttons. Then we drive time entirely on Elm side. And my player could distinguish autoplay from user interaction. And we're already sending current times on manual time updates. So on the Elm side, I think we've got a halfway decent concept of, well, at least a halfway decent concept of how we're setting time. I might want to do some work on better naming. On this side, it's still a little bit messy in terms of when we do what. Moving it all over to Elm would mean that all updates would come through current time. And maybe, I think there's a couple other things that like kind of send time along just to make sure things are synced. But I would also get rid of the gigantic array of times, which is the other thing other reason I wanted to do that. I just didn't want to do it quite yet. Let's see, so if I did the multi-scale version of it, I could perhaps like break down different ages and stuff. So it's probably still useful to have like a current period, because we're going to have like sets of life data. You can animate within that. There's an arc. You can animate within that. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get into like range selection stuff. All right, so we're going to have to do a bunch of work here. All right, this is going to be, well, it's going to be a view. Okay, where are you? I added thing on command. What else do we have lying around? Did I not get a console? Resource control yet? Okay, went into debug. I don't think I'm actually going to need that necessarily. Now that we've figured out what the problem is. Notes we can kind of leave for now. The object overlay we're not actually going to be using for a little bit. We did make some other updates, so. All right, I used this twice, right? Console log error. That only ended up being a small improvement. Oh, well, that was actually wrong, so it's sort of okay. Alright, so that's a small correction. That's debugging. Not the entire thing. Bug.log. All right. I think Elm already gets a message when we toggle time here. Now, for now, we'll just put it up. Okay, so document view. So if we turn on both the sidebar and the time view, which gets cut off? Does the time view get shrunk here, or do we lose space on the sidebar to have a wider time view? Possibly because I'm familiar with this, I would say that this is the top level split, and then the map and that is the second level split. So keyed row, right, a row contains two columns. So does the thing around the rest need to be keyed? I definitely want the map to be keyed. Well, I've also got this. And I might want to have keyed stuff all the way down. Now, is it column or call? Column. So how do we set this up? We have to see. So this is gonna be like timeline. And, oh, this thing needs to be, naming is hard. Unfortunately, we've already obligated ourselves to make some stuff. So there's that time overlay. Sidebar. And what's going to be all the sidebar stuff? And you... Gonna be nothing. Because we know we have to go back to... our model definition. Sidebar open, sidebar mode. That's going to be like all sidebar stuff. Actually, do I have a concept of this in... We've got some kind of time toggle, anim toggle. Oh, so that's all, yeah, that's already kind of equivalent to animation mode. Anim toggle. Yeah. Which I think we also, yeah, that's the same thing. So actually, there's probably a model for that. Data animated. Okay. Maybe that needs to be renamed. All right, now this should probably have something. Oh, right, we stopped this because we're taking debug off. Okay, right, I need to actually make you unconditional for development. I guess I could just default animated on. That wouldn't necessarily update some other... Update everything. But we still got problems. Okay, so there's div ID map. Oh, no. Okay, apparently it's not true. Maybe it's true? Oh, okay. So just yeah, the white is hiding very well down there. A sidebar. Yeah, it's the same background color. I probably need to have some sort of line there or something. All right. So in our sidebar. Because we have multiple things. Data filter definitely has sliders in it. Date range select. Radios, server range. Start time select. This is mode specific. This has a course find thing going on, which might be nice. And we probably actually want to do some course time select bootstrap things. I probably do want some sort of container. So I'm probably going to want to do a similar thing to them where we have a row where we eventually put some buttons. And you have, okay, you got a model. It'll say course start. Well, this thing, it's start. Okay, so this had a width on it. What's defining your width? Maybe it's just the width of the text? Yep, it's the width of the text. So somewhere along here, we need to say use everything. Okay, so the container was shrinky. And, right. I probably do want to have a current time display somewhere, but as with theirs, that takes up space. I could use the label as the place to put all the controls. And since this is hooked up to that event, it actually sort of does something. It's just not relevant to a selected period that we would set with the timeline. Oh. I think Elm will have access to all of the appropriate ranges. But I am going to have to do some of that selection here. All right, so that's a placeholder. You probably haven't rebuilt yet. And if we start putting controls over there, we'll end up with something pretty similar. Oh. No, I mean, that bar... I did have the ability for the control to fade out before, so I'll have to deal with that. Do I want to take up the extra space, or take out my range for time precision? I'm eventually going to want a bigger bar anyway. So this might better set us up for an overall space usage thing. So we do have a similar problem to the time dimension control in that we in theory have a range and we have a current time, and this might not be in the range. All right. Value, you're also value. This is actually going to be, well, map times a maybe. All right, so right now I don't need more than the row. I might leave it there just for structure. So I guess I don't need this to be a label per se. Well, we're still going to have a label field. Are you, let's see, no, you're going to be a column. No, a column has rows, a row has columns. No, wait, that means this needs to be a column. And right now, I don't have anything there. Input. Label above. Required label. They're trying to be very proper about this. I don't... I mean, I can make all the controls and things a label, but it's not really a label. And we never got around to this comma. Right, we still haven't dealt with the maybe. Maybe. Width default. It's not what we want. Okay. So map time, for you to have a range, we have to have a current range in the model. Huh. So we're probably going to have a type here. Because we can either be in an arc range, in a dataset range, or not available unless I just do server range in that case. But I need more water, so I'll be back in a few minutes. Oh, she has 2 knives, wow. Oh. Ah! Oh, too slow. Yeah, can't take any of my stuff off. That was rude. It's like, this is the second time I've been killed by my mother. What is it with this?
Hey. Ow! Ow! And fight's almost over. Ow! Ow! Fight's over.
Wait, where does it put our base? Oh, it didn't. Okay. So yeah, it sort of does it. But I think the islands are way too big still. So we need a proper map generation, I guess. Yeah, they're definitely too big.
Base dug out. Let's build that other set. Meal lice or meal wood. As far as it goes, putting doors down everywhere, it's a little bit of overkill. I probably don't even need to do that, but I just like it. One advantage to it is,
All right, welcome back. So our time bar, our timeline has to have some sort of mode to it. Well, I mean, it's all just a time range. that will get set for different purposes. It might not matter where that came from. So we could do like a tuple for the range. That would make it a little bit harder to select out the bits if you only needed one of them for some reason. But it'd probably be set at the same time. Okay, so these are for that. We didn't end up with a timeline thing. Data animated kind of ended up being its thing. Yeah, so these actually kind of start to turn into the... I mean, these were sidebar things. Ooh, I might have to have settings for both of these. Oh yeah, these are all... cosmetic stuff. Why are these separated? You're used in similar ways, right? I think so. Look, they're two related things. So maybe it makes sense to have... Oh. So either I have to have a range on here or they have to be maybes. I guess it could be a maybe tuple. You're never going to have an unbounded range. Oh, that actually kind of starts to turn data animated into... Well, no, you can have a time range without it being visible. And I think that correlates roughly with what we start with here. Time dimension nothing, player nothing, control options. Yeah, so we should have no initial settings. That means that we have to consider that this thing probably isn't even... Well, we won't have the button there. But like really just can't show anything if that's not set. If well, it turns into a case. There. Which means it will actually be invisible right now. Or none shown. Okay. And then we will set that time range in the cases where so like this is probably arc time right now. Set available times. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I don't currently parse the entire data times in Elm. Now I do select based on a range, so I might have to do that based on my selected range rather than my actual range. But that might not end up looking good. Arcs, I think I do have. And that's just, well, these might be derived fields. Arc range by time. Oh. No, I want to set arc layer by time if I'm going over it, but this sets a range. Okay, there's some logic there. Well, this will start off implementing it just for arcs, and then worry about logic. Whole data. An arc looks like a start and an end as POSIX. That should be very easy to translate. And actually, I'm sending a current arc, right? UI select arc. Oh, model current arc is a maybe arc. So wherever we set that, for now, we just do time range equals I could do a maybe map here. doesn't really help me. Arc list, current arc equals last arc. Model.map time. Leaflet.arclist. I did not need the arc before. I might be starting to need a function here. List heads, that's a maybe again. So now we have to do... could I do this? Maybe. Fetch arcs failed. Well, this should only really happen once. Data layer. If model.data animated. This is actually going to be similar. This is we got a lives list back. So this is where we're going to have to set the range to the life range. We're just going to ignore that for now. New arc. Time selection for time. Server list. Okay, so this is the time selection for the sidebar. Time mode is arc range. Current arc is new arc. So we've changed our time. New arc is an arc. So it wasn't actually using that before. All right, what did we mess up? Arc value is a POSIX. Oh, this is model.map time. So we just have last arc. So this is our maybe dot map. All right, so is this... Oh, no, I'm not using this in the view. All right, so this is going to be... All right, so this thing should only be possible, but when this is not equal to nothing, but it's a maybe, so it still has to consider that case. Time range. Now you have to do... You return a float. Server time. Yeah. And POSIX to float is letting me do an offset, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, and there's start time. Oh, here's value again. Oops. Except you're a maybe. Do I have to switch off of that as well? Because if we don't have a map time, what are... It's just undefined. Which makes me wonder if I should have some sort of structure for this, but map time is currently used elsewhere. Which makes this a little hairy. And really, this is a everything else. We have no way to display it. And that means we don't need this. And it's still sending course map time. Because we don't have a, I don't think we have a message for that. Which is probably having some weird effects. I mean, it's a POSIX, so it should still be kind of fine. So this should only happen because a user dragged their time. Or, yeah, it's not necessarily a drag. Select map time? Well, I didn't do select on these. All right, we do kind of want to look at for start time. That is not going to be a UI set time. This is going to be actually more like time load. Okay, so there is a except now this is not coming from the map, so we have to send it to the map. Well, baby steps. And I didn't actually use that, did I? All right, we're updating our URL, we're updating our map time. Current time. See, is set time. Showtime notice, no. Leaflet.current time. This turns into a batch. Now we might. This is the point where leaflet time loads could still be feeding back on us. A little bit of lag there. That may in fact be time load events. So let's okay, that gets rid of the lagginess from the feedback. But it doesn't seem to be receiving the current time events. Oh, because it's not actually in animated mode. Ooh, I might have to watch my boundaries there. Because I think I did some fix up on the other end. Okay, we're here. Arc, range, by time. Plus 1 second. And that kind of went into our selection method for stuff. Okay, that's the only place it hit. So, that's awkward. That might be easier to change on the view end. Because, hey, look, there's an offset. Oh, wait. It's an offset in what, though? That's an offset in days. We're going to do... we're turning it into a float. But what's 1 second in a floating point selection? Well, actually, we're going to seconds. Okay, we probably need to get around to synchronizing that. Oops. Okay, I didn't like that at all. Oh, because you still need a 0. That's a function. Okay, now all of the map stuff is still driven off time load. But actually just getting rid of that feedback means it should now be possible to actually reload this view. I kind of need to go back to something I can look at here, but... Oh yeah, and is this... That's... Yeah, mostly what we want. That's probably... I mean, a halfway decent point to checkpoint. I should probably set up to default animated on. Or actually link this to... Yeah, I need to link them. But I think all of this is converted off of the stuff that we copy-pasted. Oh, Whip Elm timeline. All right, this being out of sync is a little bit weird. So I should probably get this back to proper. I never tested the none case, didn't I? Okay. Oh, I reloaded too fast. Okay. So I'm not thrilled about the stuff moving around, but oh well. So now, and when that got toggled, now I think I did before, just kind of made sure they were both in sync. But that keeps it down to a single file. Okay, so we've got it up for... But... Might be a ordering thing? Because that message clearly works. Oh. Anim overlay. Oh. Well, not toggle animation. Oh. You are actually just toggle. Okay, you don't get called anywhere else. On add, on remove. Base layers by time. Alright, so we get true. Toggle animation control 0, 0. Because we don't have the arc list yet. Okay, well, anim overlay. Yeah, there's no time interface here. Okay, so that's not what that looked like at our current time. Oh, that's still animated 0. 1, 0. Right, so this depends on our layers. Add arc placements. Right. This just assumes which layers to add. There is no sense of if we're in animated mode. All right, here's a possible workaround. Which unfortunately happens twice. I've already got a bunch of parameters to arc list, but I kind of don't want to do more. Oh, shoot. And then one of the reasons I do that is because order matters. And I think it's not what you think. Nope. Neither of those will do it. So this does give anim overlay after arc list. Add arc placements. We initially do that layer. Then we call anim overlay. Which does toggle animated in each arc. Okay, so we've got parent.each layer. So there's the data layer. There's 2 layers. You have a name. The other one might be a group. Dot options. That's data. Now layers options. Maybe not. Okay, you're a key placement. Why don't you have an alternate attribute? Oh no, you're probably, that's biome and objects. Why would that have changed? When we come back and do this. Well, no, because all that stuff works from here. Toggle animation controls, toggle animation controls. I mean, monument list is like the only other thing that's come through. So why doesn't that do it? We've clearly got... So we're not setting the layers and we're not setting this. Is there something else that's coming along and turning them off? Oh. No, we set the layers as soon as we define this. Oh, we call this from 2 places. Because you also have to load the object master. Which is also an asynchronous event. All right, I guess we do this the hard way. And then everything just works. Didn't like having that in two places. All right. That might be another thing to try and clean up somewhere. All right. We need play controls. This I think I might, and look, I had to deal with frames per second because it was in this control. I can probably just turn that into some sort of like playback time scale thing. Although I might need some feedback about how fast we're able to actually process frames. And I might not have to deal with the two separately. So how about so your entire purpose. Oh, you've got an explicit timeout in you. Probably because of some other kind of problem, but that's... yeah. So you just plain go away. Well, no. Well, we want to unhook things from here, and we want to rehook things to the current time. So that's our two events. So anim overlay, update tiles, and ArcAge update tiles. Base layer by time. You are defined pretty early on. It's just a layer group. Map log update tiles. And you expected an event argument. Right, because I was driving these things strictly from time log events. ev.time. You needed the original time. So probably you just want to pass a time code in here. Map log sprite. Wow. Tile.time equals time. Last time. Maybe that was to allow for sub-second. Oh, because map logs actually are sub-second. So this time. Actually, this is a leftover. We never actually use that. Whereas this update tiles does think in set map time. And set map time is back in milliseconds. All right, so, well, for consistency with what we've got, we just say this is milliseconds. This is the one that doesn't actually use this thing. Didn't really use EV. Arc update presumably wants a millisecond. Well, that actually worked. This one wants a second, but that's a layer specific thing. Set map time is already in milliseconds. You don't have any other. Now select points is more of a, is a click event, so that's fine. Milliseconds, milliseconds. All right, so that ran everything through there. All right, so that's going to give us anim overlay update tiles and I guess I could give my layer group a custom method. Like if any of my layers have update tiles, just go through them all. Oh well. So now arc range by time. Is your sole purpose to update time dimension? Time dimension, get available times, times push. Yes. So that was initial setup. we don't have to worry about a range. We do have to worry about so this sets the underlying stuff, but this was specifically not triggering set current time before. Although I immediately followed it with that. So where do we set map time without doing current time? Well, we put it on a delay. Oh, because this gets called from update tiles. Yeah, we don't want to do that. I probably want something like, well, I probably want a function for this. Because we do have to update multiple things. But if that's map time, what is this called? Set anim time? So right now, what it comes down to is like either our global update tiles or like set tile time. All right, so set map time, update tiles. There's another one where could probably just grab this. Begin playback. Begin playback actually doesn't even need to go here. Set timeout, focus. Hopefully that's more of a time dimension thing than a tile thing. And once again, we kind of added these things one by one by one by one until we have 3 instances of them. All right, arc range by time. Its sole purpose is to update this stuff. Wait, you have reason. Okay, that was for debugging that we no longer do. Maybe you used to call base layers by time? And available times, I mean, I guess I don't need to necessarily break that yet, although we did... we did lose our set arc range, so it'll be a little bit broken in the meantime. Of course, I just removed all the calls to this, so it doesn't really matter. So we're in a slightly ugly intermediate state right now. Yeah, time not available. But the map is responding. Oh man, I was like all near the end. Okay. Set available times. Okay, lineage color, hash color. I think that's the only reason I needed these. Oh, nope, 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 no, it's not the only reason I did those. Min-max. This ugly business though. Oh, and we need it for min and max options of the scales. Yeah, because there were like color scales and things. All right, so that's the end of set available times. All right, so anim toggle does, I think, do a toggle event. And I may have left this in during bugging. So actually, this whole thing... Well, no, there's the remove control both. And it doesn't really matter that it's animated or not, but... Oh. So we have to do something to track that. Okay, time dimension control is... Oh, it actually did options. Yeah, the control's gone. I think that takes care of the player. Which actually takes care of that message. Oh. And that's the extra button we put on there. So basically these will, I need to keep track of which ones had the time dimension. So time dimension by itself had no time. So that initial state, fine. But setting that in one place affected setting all of these other things. So Anim Overlay is already getting update tiles. Although, that may have just been go do it. You'll get your time from draw tile. Yeah, you'll get your time from time dimension. So time dimension started out with no time. When we set time, it would do a time load and trigger those. Everywhere we were doing a set current time, we are now doing an update tiles. So this should be good, but my draw tiles is, well, draw tile can be triggered by the system. If I pan around, it'll have to load new tiles. So I can't just pass that down. So the main options would be that we have a layer option for the time to display. And then we have to go through, well, update tiles would set the time. And we should be good. Or that our map object has a time. And if they're visible, they have a map object which they can fetch it from. Does any layer that cares about time have a update tiles? Maplog sprite is a tilelet has an update tiles. There's Maplog sprite again. There is point overlay. That's Anim Overlay. That has an update tiles. Wait, did I get back in the same thing? Yeah, point overlay. Right. Oh, point overlay has it twice. It has draw tile and select points. Oh. Point overlay was both the animated and non-animated version, depending on whether it had a time dimension. But I mean, that's a flag. That's fine. Anim overlay. Maplog sprite. Okay, so Maplog sprite and point overlay are my two animated layers. Oh, you already had a base time. And then, oh, interesting. So that's just Maplog sprite. Although I think probably we're just going to have like a time value on these. And then update tiles is going to update the options. Tile at. Okay, that gets all the tile data at that time. Wait, so why does... layer.tile at. Oh, that's create tile. Okay. Right, so we set that for any new automatically system-generated tiles. That is a layer-wide option. So this is the layer. And then my other update tiles, you do want the milliseconds. Oh, your draw tile takes a time. Well, it takes a time in seconds. So time dimension. Oh. Oh, this is the point layer. No, you actually need a flag So you've got two things going on. Okay. You can figure it out from this. It's not the greatest system. I mean, you could ask if it has a time. That's sort of the same thing. You just have to be very careful about zeros. Anim overlay. Let's update tiles. It should only get called an anim overlay. Maplog sprite already has a time set. Oh. Interesting. Where were we setting you? This.layer.options.time. Is this a forgotten option? Maybe that was just for the bootstrapping phase. Oh. Was I counting on that being always the last moment? So this is Maplog sprite. Key placement, create our key placement layer, which is at a time. Our maplog layer is also going to default to that time. But the update message, the update tiles messages would come in, so that might actually work out for us. And I think I only need you because of that. Okay, our initial view did not look like it had properly updated. Okay, not complaining about anything there. Yeah, so our initial view needs to do something. Okay, so actually you're fine. It's the animated one. And they're both Matlog sprites. Oh, are they not? Okay, key placement sprite. Those are closely related. By some drawing code. Is a key placement sprite with a new create tile. That's only a default 0. This should still override it. All right, so if we update this... Uh-oh. I thought it was working. That was a little interesting. Yeah, newly loaded tiles do not exist. Yeah, okay, we got some problems. Got some major problems. And these are still perfectly fine. Oh. No, tiles are only tiles in a layer. Okay, so you've got a time code. That's only create tile, but you've got a time code. I think that used to work. Yeah. Okay, so there was a global time that had a current time. But this layer has a time, and it appears that it still has that time. Are we not forcing a draw? Does create tile need to do a draw? Oh. Key placement pixel. This replaces create tile. Let's key placement sprite. Also replaces tile. Oh, tile at is supposed to call it. Oopsie. Is this possibly happening before our objects are set? And then I need to come back and do a redraw afterwards, which perhaps there was some asynchronicity in time dimension that was causing that to happen before? Shoot, what was that? Object load. That's for the map generation. Add arc placements. It actually recreates the layers. No, we should have objects beforehand. Unless... object size. We've got our arcs. Why aren't you drawing anything? Or is this at the wrong time? Oh, that's not map time. Wait, are those even different units? Okay, one of these is a string, one of these is a number. From the looks of things. So that's an oopsie. Okay, so you're a string. You're a number. So how? Where are we getting a string from? Maybe something from update tiles? Current time. Arc list. Message.start time. Well, okay, I've got essential update tiles function, right? Number, that's with all of that stuff. This is seconds as a string. So this must be where the layer's created? Okay, that's 0. Oh. This is the time it needs to fetch the data. Load tile. Get data URL. All right, so this is naming is hard. You get name collisions. It means you probably have a load tile. Create tile. Oh, this probably went to the cache. Time layer.options.time, which was unset. So key placement pixel, time to string. So this has to be like, I mean, even directory or no, I guess time is the thing that kind of makes sense in the context of the URL. Okay, point overlay is fine. Load tile. Data is stuff that is passed through, and let me guess, time. So maybe when we pass it to load tile, we can convert back. All right, so we've got key placement pixel, data time, data time. This is also, incidentally, well, where we would want to set our current time to. I guess key placement sprite doesn't matter because it's just going to display whatever it gets. You might be a leftover because I'm not sure. I may want to overlap stuff. Data time, initial view time. Now that's still send. It didn't look like things were getting updated properly. Yeah. So we're not getting an initial time on this layer. But is it probably final state again? Okay, the number of draws are getting a little bit oppressive there. Oh. Okay, so once you set it, it stays set. We just need to have our onload time properly configured. So where do we get that from? All right, we got a current time right there. And then we loaded something different. Now, oh no, add arc placement, so that should have been well after that. Oh, but they still got created at end. There was nothing to update when current time came in. So I might still have to have some kind of local cache of current time. Wait a minute. ArcList has a time. But we don't have objects yet. So this just set map time, just selects layers. So you don't necessarily have a map immediately accessible. That means update arcs probably gets called. Okay, so object load triggers this. That calls, okay, they both call add arc placements. But this only does it if it's available, and then this will also trigger it there. And this is just, we do it on load, and then we won't have any of these messages available. We do defer that until we have a map, though. Which we don't use. And I already have a thing. Oh, I have set map time. Well, time dimension was a global. I don't see an easy way out of having something similar here. I can try to pass everything down through. We're going to get time later, and then the asynchronous object load process is going to load objects and create our data layers, which need to have time during first render. So current time's going to come in as a POSIX. What is it? Is set map time should be called in most instances where something's going to get updated. And add arc placements. So it's only the map log that cares about really fine detail. Oh, and this is sort of like our time range thing. It's like setting a time outside of your time range doesn't make any sense. And you're an array. Well, what can we... If map time... MS... My other thing must have needed this for something. MS start, MS end. Oh, right, we needed second end for the data time. MS end is not defined. Oh, yep. Hey! That actually is the correct time. And was that road there? Okay, that road was there. I got too many console logs. I mean, I guess I haven't used most of these in so long. Well, wait a minute. I was actually working on some stuff that I want to get back to. I mean, some of these could probably be removed. Just you have to think about it. Topographic map biome index. Now you see some of this generation stuff is what I'm going to be getting back into. Biome layer, maybe. Object layer, maybe. Actually, probably, definitely. We do a lot of that. All right, toggle animation controls is pretty stable. And type of and what we originally, right, this is within the arc window right now. At the moment we still have to, so this is not how I ultimately want this thing to behave, but other test. Now what are you? See, that's a little bit funny. We have, yeah, I've kind of got a mixed interpretation of what that means. Well, granted, I'm forcing this thing on right now, but I'm setting it up for like a server range or something. Or maybe it's just an invalid value. and then you drag it and it's just garbage. You know what? I've got that stuff over here. Leaflet.time public. Leaflet.time. Okay, well, we'll take this in stages. All right, ISO, CSS, source. You have to use data time. Well, time dimension stuff goes away. I still don't have like play buttons or anything. That is, well, we're already quite late. Yeah, we already took care of the attribution thing. There's probably going to be some other dark corners to deal with. For one thing, I know I've glossed over the point overlay for range setting. Like, and I have to deal with... All right, so we have to deal with range setting for life data. We need play, etc. buttons. We have to deal with when no default no appropriate range. And this bit's in source control if we need to reference that. All right, so now we've got to do all that cleanup to get back to where we were. Then I'll actually be able to link to this time to work on the object generation stuff. And pray I don't need to do any other map updates between now and I can finish this. Because it is not in a complete state right now. Alright, well, thanks to everybody who hosted me. What do we got? This is about when I tend to stream, so today's very late. Caught up in it. How about some Astroneer? But yeah, from someplace cool to hang out, that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye and until next time.